first in the world. The first person to reach Mount Everest, Sherpa Tenzing Edmund Hillary. The first person to reach North Pole, Robert Peary. The first person to reach South Pole, Amundsen. The first country to print book, China. The first country to issue paper currency, China. The first country to commence competitive examination in civil services, China. The first country to send man to the moon, USA. The first country to launch artificial satellite in the space, Russia. The first country to host the modern Olympics, Greeks. Women in space, first woman in space, Yuri Gagarin, Russia. The first city on which the atom bomb was dropped, Japan. The first person to land on the moon, Neil Armstrong, followed by Edwin E. Aldrin. The first president of the USA, George Washington. The first prime minister of Britain, Robert Walpole. The first governor general of the United Nations, Trygve Norway. The first country to prepare a constitution, USA. The first governor general of Pakistan, Muhammad Ali Jinnah. The first country to host NAM summit, Belgrade. The first European to attack India, Alexander the Great. The first European to reach China, Marco Polo. The first person to fly aeroplane, Wright brothers. The first person to sail round the world, Magellan. The first shuttle to go in space, Columbia. The first spacecraft to reach on Mars, Viking 1. The first woman prime minister of England, Margaret Thatcher. The first Muslim prime minister of a country, Benazir Bhutto, Pakistan. The first woman to climb Mount Everest, Mrs. Junko Tabby, Japan. The first woman cosmonaut of the world, Valentina Tereshkova, Russia. The first woman president of UN General Assembly, Vijay Lakshmi Pandit. The first batsman to score 3 Test century in 3 successive tests on debut, Muhammad Azharuddin. The first man to have climbed Mount Everest twice, Nong Gombo. The first US president to resign presidency, Richard Nixon. Chinese traveler to India, Fahin. Foreign invader to India, Alexander the Great. Person in space, Yuri Gagarin. Person on moon, Neil Armstrong. The first woman to climb Mount Everest, Junko Tabby. The first European to visit China, Marco Polo. Man to walk in space, Alexei Leonov. The first woman prime minister of country, Mrs. Sirimavo Bandarnaki. The first woman president of a country, Maria Estela Peron. The first woman to command a space mission, Colonial Eileen Collins, USA. First talkie movie in the world, The Jazz Singer, 1927. The first residents of International Space Station, Bill Shepard, USA. Yuri Gizanko and Sergei Kelev, Russia. The first blind man to scale empty Mount Everest, Eric Venimar, USA, May 2025 2001. The first Muslim woman to become secretary, Iran Zobeda Khan. And the first space astronaut to go into space, 7, Jerry Ross, USA. The first South African to become the second space tourist, Mark Shuttleworth. The first woman prime minister of South Korea, Miss Chang Sang. The first youngest grandmaster of the world in chess, Sergei Karjakin, Ukraine. The first adventure flying successfully across the English Channel without aircraft, Felix Baumgartner, July 2003. China's first man in space, Yang Liwei. The first Muslim woman to receive Nobel Prize, Shirin Ebadi, Nobel Peace Prize 2003. The woman with the highest individual test score, making a new world record, Kiran Baloch, Pakistani cricketer, scoring 242 runs, playing women's cricket test against West Indies in Karachi in March 2004. The first woman of the world to climb Mount Everest 4 times, Lakpa Sherpa Nepali. The first woman to cross 7 important seas of the world by Swimming, Bula Chaudhary, India, the first Asian city to host Olympics, Tokyo, Japan, 1964. First woman black tennis player to win a singles, Gibson, 1957. First woman to win a Grand Slam, Maureen Catherine, 1953. First woman to win an Olympic gold medal, Charlotte Cooper, UK tennis singles, 1901. First professional woman bullfighter, Patricia McCormick, 1952. First man to fly solo non-stop across the Atlantic, Charles Lindbergh, 1927. First person to cross Antarctic Circle, James Cook, 1773. First people to reach the North Pole, Lieutenant Cole Joseph O. Fletcher and Lieutenant William P.B. Bandit, 1952. First person to conquer the Everest twice, Navang Gombo Sherpa, 1965. First person with only one arm to climb the Everest, American Gray Guller, 2003. First woman to fly solo around the world, Jerry Frederick Mock, 1964. First woman to fly solo across the English Channel, Harriet Quimby. First ascent of Everest without bottled oxygen, Peter Habler, Austria, and Reinhold Messner, Italy, 1978. First woman to set foot on North Pole, and Bancroft, USA, 1986. Jointly developed by Sony and Philips, 1978. First atom bomb, little boy dropped over Hiroshima by the US during the Second World War, 1945. First manned space vehicle, Vostok 1, USSR, 1961. First woman to walk on the moon, Neil Armstrong, Apollo 11, 1969. First woman to walk in space, Alexei Arkovich Leonov, 1965.